Part 73. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 721. If what you say is true, then, we have become the most confident people in the treasure land. Chen Meng looked at Xiao Xian carefully to make sure that he was not talking casually, and then said, but we still can't take it lightly. Ha ha ha. I don't think there's much to worry about. Xiao Xian smiled instead. Think about it, this time we have the help of the savage tribe, no matter from any aspect, we should be more advantageous, right? He looked relaxed. But Chen Meng, Long Ruoxiu, and others were a little hesitant. They are also practitioners with rich experience in exploring secrets. Naturally, they listened to Xiao Xian's words and threw away the other half. After all, when it comes down to it, a place like the treasure land cannot be safely arranged casually. All right. Now that the matter is over, let's concentrate on dealing with the dangers in the treasure land. What is certain is that the Qinglian Valley is indeed very weird this time, weirder than any other time we have encountered. Wang Tai said in a deep voice, there is also an unstable factor like Xianming sect, so no matter what, we must face it carefully. Wang Tai is considered the most senior in this team. He is also the disciple who has participated in the most trials in the Qinglian Valley. At this moment, the people around him still pay attention to what he said. Senior brother Chen Long, let's go in first. After Xiao Xian surrendered to Chen Long, he led the team towards the interior of Qinglian Valley. The remaining disciples of King Hua Academy also looked at each other. They all stopped. On the other hand, the leader of the savage tribe seemed to have a little doubt in his eyes when he saw the arrangements made by Xiao Xian and others. Ho ho ho! The further we go into the Qinglian Valley, the big trees covered the sky and blocked out the sun. It was obviously broad daylight, but it was very dark inside, as if it was night. The air was also humid and muggy, and everyone felt sticky. What's the situation? Is it so hot and humid in the depths of the jungle? Feel the heat in your body. Xiao Xian was a little confused. You must know that for their practitioners, they don't need to care about changes in the outside temperature. Even in the middle of summer or winter, they can still wear normal clothes. Only under one situation will they care about changes in the outside environment, and that is that the outside environment is a wonder of heaven and earth. It is true that Qinglian Valley is a secret realm. But they really didn't expect that in this treasure land, there would be wonders of heaven and earth. Could there be a volcano or something underground? Wow! Follow the savage leader and walk forward. Suddenly there was a sound of rushing water in front of him, and there turned out to be a rapid river in front of him. What's going on? Xiao Xian was stunned. He didn't expect that he would encounter a river here. Logically speaking, the savage leader had already been convinced by him and would not deceive him at this time. But now that the savage brought him to this place, what kind of trouble was he going to make? Hello. What did you bring me here for? Seeing the confused looks in the eyes of Long Ruoxiu, Chen Meng, and others, Xiao Xian was a little embarrassed and could only look at the savage leader behind him with confusion. Ho ho ho! However, the savage leader still stared wide-eyed, pointing at the river in front of him and making a diving gesture. Lying down? Xiao Xian understood. Did he mean to make them jump down? Seeing this, he couldn't help but walk to the river. The speed of the river was faster than he had ever seen. Moreover, there are many boulders downstream. If he jumped down and was thrown onto a boulder by the river, he would not die but would be seriously injured. Could this savage leader let him die? Wanting to understand this, Xiao Xian couldn't help but have a black line in his eyes, and looked at the savage leader with a little more doubt in his eyes. However, the bald savage still looked nonchalant. Based on emotion and reason. Physically, he is really good. So to say. It takes less than one stick of incense. I saw the savage leader leaping directly onto a big rock in the center of the river. Haha, it looks like this savage leader wants us to jump down. I wonder, which one of you will be the first one to jump down, Xiao Xian said with a smile. Xiao Xian should be the first to jump down. Judging from the current situation. Strengthening the impact of this river, making the impact of the river on the savage leader even more powerful. The savage leader tightly grasped the stones at his feet and relied on his own strength to resist the impact of the river. Look at Xiao Xian with wide eyes. After the two looked at each other, they simultaneously focused on Xiao Xian. Long Ruoxiu and Chen Meng were on the same front. Aren't you shooting yourself in the foot? What made him feel even more different was that in this river, there was not only the original impact of the river, but also a slight trace of natural power in the river. It seemed that he was really wondering why Xiao Xian didn't jump down. It has obviously been tempered many times. This really surprised Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian scratched the back of his head with a headache, and said helplessly, if I had known this, why would I have done it in the first place? If I had known it, I would have done the same thing. Now it seems that this place is the way for savages to cultivate their physique. After all, he was the one who chose to believe in the savage leader at that time, and he was also the strongest person currently. Xiao Xian smiled. It is this trace of natural power. The savage leader next to him instead gave an example. Seeing this, Xiao Xian figured out something. This is so meow. In the rapids. When he fought with the savage leader before, he had discovered that although the savage leader had no Tao power, his body was extremely strong. These savages found this place and used the power of nature to temper themselves, which made these savages so strong. Just when he was hesitating about how to take the first step. After all, natural Tao power is extremely precious. Generally, wherever natural Tao power can appear, it will form a natural cave heaven or a treasure land for cultivation. Crash la la la. Even though the body of the savage leader had reached the great perfection of the spiritual god realm, he stumbled and fell down from above. Does this savage leader want to see how my physique is? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 722. Brother System. You said, if I use primitive power to strengthen my body, will it greatly increase my physical strength in the end? By the river, Xiao Xian suddenly asked the system. Primitive power is the source of all things and can strengthen Taoism. However, without strong enough muscles, bones and blood, strengthening Taoism cannot exert the power of the body itself, the system explained. I didn't understand. Primitive power cannot strengthen the physique. Then just say it straight away. Is there any need to beat around the bush and talk so much nonsense? Xiao Xian muttered. However, this trial place seems to be blessed by the natural way. If the host can practice here for a period of time, the physical fitness can be greatly improved, the system rarely argued with Xiao Xian. Natural avenue. It sounds very awesome. Compared with the Chaos Daoyun you mentioned before, which one is more powerful? Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask. Ahem. This river is used to strengthen the physique, while Chaos Daoyun is used to strengthen Dao power. The two are not the same. The system seems a bit awkward. Hearing the system's embarrassing tone, Xiao Xian understood something. Before, the system had often used Chaos Daoyun to encourage Xiao Xian, asking him to practice well and not to live up to the system's rewards. But now, a natural avenue suddenly appeared. You can use natural avenues to strengthen your physique. The system seems a bit unwilling. So it seems that these natural avenues are still valuable? Even as good as those Chaos Daoyun? In this case, it aroused Xiao Xian's curiosity. It seems that this place is a place for physical training. Which of you will go down with me? Xiao Xian turned around and asked with a smile. It doesn't seem simple. I'll go with you. On the contrary, Wang Tai was a little excited and said, look at this place, it seems that it can strengthen my physique, which should be good for my Iron Rock Kung Fu. Okay. Then let's compete to see who has the better physique. Xiao Xian smiled. Since taking Dragon Body Pill, he has the strengthening power of dragon blood in his body, and the magical beast Xyla gives him a colorful aura, which is no less than the Iron Rock Kung. Taking off their coats, Xiao Xian and Wang Tai jumped into the air. The two fell on two stones in the river. Crash la la la. The river water spurted out instantly and hit the two of them. Under the huge impact force, both of them were shaken and almost fell into the river. Wang Tai did not dare to neglect, and immediately activated his Iron Rock skill. The grey iron stone spread over his body, strengthening his body and making his body grow to more than 2 meters tall. On the other side, Xiao Xian used the power of the Great Dao in his body to the extreme. A body strengthened by the Dragon Body Pill. His body is much stronger than ordinary people. At this time, even with the impact of the river, the dragon blood in his body is still resisting this power. At the same time, Xiao Xian could feel it. In the river, there seemed to be natural avenues that continuously penetrated into his body through the impact of the river. At first, he was a little worried. It can be found that after these natural avenues enter the body, they can continuously strengthen his body's muscles and bones and improve his physique. As time goes by, these natural avenues will change his physique even more. This really made him happy. Then, let's give it a try and see how far this natural avenue can strengthen my physique. Xiao Xian is no longer hiding his secrets. The power of the great avenue fully emerged from his body. The faint dragon aura continued to circulate inside his body, and Xiao Lu's colorful aura continued to repair the injuries on his body. At the same time, Xiao Xian also seized the opportunity to release the power of the soul in the Tegzarir realm. It can still greatly improve his strength. At this moment, I saw that using this method of flushing the river water can strengthen the body. It's okay, I just want to hold on for a while. I didn't expect that. Hey, my body is not up to par. Wang Tai looked embarrassed, but could not hide the excitement in his eyes. However, rushing in this river for a while, it is being able to feel the nourishment of the avenue can strengthen your physique. And this kind of exercise and Taoism can strengthen the body. For example, Wang Tai's Iron Rock skill was achieved after more than 10 years of practice. This made them even more secretly frightened. They usually change their body shape, so it is practiced by men. Very few women are willing to change their body shape to practice this type of Taoism. Even the savage leader whom they recognized as having a strong physique. Beyond the river. You know, even if they were standing outside the river. Yes, there seems to be a kind of power in it. As long as you bathe in it, you can feel that your body is constantly strengthening, Wang Tai said. Long Ruoxiu also reacted and couldn't help but look at the river with warm eyes, eager to try. Meng Xiaoli breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Wang Tai was not seriously injured. Wang Tai himself was washed out by the river in a state of embarrassment. Things that have been confirmed by the system must be good things, but Xiao Xian also understands that with his current state of soul, it is somewhat difficult to understand the natural way at once. Comprehend this hard-won natural path. However, it is only necessary to understand even a little bit of such a precious thing. Even the savage leader can only hold on for such a short time. How long can Xiao Xian and Wang Tai hold on? Their savage bodies are so strong. Is this where they wash away? Why are you so brave? The power of the Great Avenue can be cultivated with the help of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, and the blessed land of heaven and earth. The three people looked at Xiao Xian involuntarily. So, that is to say, even the understanding of the Great Dao can be taught by seniors, but it is extremely difficult to strengthen one's physique. Unless there are elixirs made from the blood of high-level monsters, one can only rely on painful tempering day after day. You don't even see how dangerous this is. It was Meng Xiaoli's quick eyesight and quick hands that caught Wang Tai, otherwise the latter would have been washed downstream by the river. Seeing Xiao Xian and Wang Tai struggling to resist the impact of the river, Long Ruoxiu, Chen Meng, Meng Xiaoli, and others all looked at each other, some worried and some curious. Strengthen your physique, Chen Meng couldn't help but wonder. You can also imagine how strong the impact in the center of the river is from the rumbling impact of the river. He couldn't even hold on to a stick of incense. For human practitioners. Sure enough, in less than a stick of incense, the iron rock skill on Wang Tai's body was directly broken by the impact of the river again and again. They felt that Xiao Xian was the one who could create miracles again. The three women also had longing in their eyes. The power of the soul can be cultivated with the help of elixirs and magic circle spiritual energy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 723. However, the impact of the river seems to be very strong. We won't be able to bear it, right? Long Ruoxiu was a little worried. His strength is considered the weakest among these teams, not even comparable to Chen Meng, and he may not be able to last long in the river. That doesn't matter. Senior brother, didn't I last even longer than a stick of incense? However, as long as you are impacted inside, you can understand the aftertaste of one of the avenues. Wang Tai thought about it carefully. Although I don't know what kind of avenue this is, what is certain is that this avenue does have an enhancement effect on physical fitness, and the longer you stay, the stronger this enhancement effect will be, the more obvious it is. After he said this, the three women's attention was involuntarily placed on Xiao Xian. Just now, Xiao Xian and Wang Tai entered the river boulder together. Now, even Wang Tai, who majored in iron rock kung fu and had a strong physique, could not bear the impact of the river, but Xiao Xian was still holding on inside. Could it be said that Xiao Xian's physique is stronger than Wang Tai? They couldn't help but secretly sighed. You know, although Wang Tai was once defeated by Bai Feng with a sword, the latter was an inner disciple of King Hua Academy and was very powerful. King Hua Academy disciples present. Even if he loses to Bai Feng, he won't feel so ashamed. Moreover, among the disciples of King Hua Academy, Wang Tai's iron rock kung fu is definitely considered a superior outer sect practice. This is normal. Junior brother Xiao Xian is the one who defeated the savage leader after all. There seems to be an extraordinarily powerful feeling in his physique. Wang Tai looked at Xiao Xian, who was constantly being hit in the river, thoughtfully. The three women nodded equally. They could also feel that Xiao Xian's current physique was indeed stronger than they imagined. Incredible. I still remember that when he first entered the sect, he was still a freshman in the elementary level of the spiritual god realm, but now he has become so powerful. Meng Xiaoli said with emotion, with such talent in cultivation, the future achievements will be immeasurable. Hear this. Long Ruoxiu and Chen Meng couldn't help but take another look at her. Among the old students of King Hua College, although Meng Xiaoli is from Wu Meng's lineage, she is famous for being strict with new students. Normally freshmen would not be praised by her. Even a compliment is extremely rare. Today, Meng Xiaoli actually praised Xiao Xian in front of other disciples. This is definitely a strange thing. It seems that senior sister Meng has a very high opinion of Xiao Xian. Chen Meng couldn't help but say. If you can stay in there long enough, I will have the same evaluation of you. Meng Xiaoli was straightforward. Then let's try it. As the most talented disciple in Lu Lianyi's lineage, Chen Meng is naturally a proud person at heart. I saw her taking off her coat. With a kick of his feet, he rushed towards the river. At this time, Xiao Xian was concentrating on resisting the natural road in the river. After hearing a sound of water, he turned around and saw a woman with an proud figure and beautiful appearance falling beside him. It was Chen Meng. In Qinghua Academy, if you want to evaluate which lineage of disciples is the strongest, there may be different opinions. But let's talk about which lineage has the most beautiful disciples in Qinghua Academy. There is no doubt that he is of Lu Lianyi's lineage. After all, Lu Lianyi had the strictest criteria for accepting disciples, which was to only accept beautiful female disciples. No matter how talented other male disciples are. Lu Lianyi didn't accept it. Therefore, in Qinghua Academy, the disciples from Lu Lianyi's lineage are definitely the most eye-catching. As Lu Lianyi's most valued disciple, Chen Meng naturally has a good figure and stunning appearance. Just like a fairy in the sky. But at this moment, this fairy had a slightly red face, and glared at Xiao Xian with a bit of anger in his almond-shaped eyes. It was hot and humid in the jungle just now. Chen Meng was afraid of the heat, so he only wore a thin undershirt. At this moment, this white undershirt is washed by the river. It clung to her body even more tightly. After Xiao Xian's proud figure was soaked by the river water, Xiao Xian couldn't help but his throat moved and he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He was almost washed down by the river. Don't look. After Chen Meng noticed Xiao Xian's eyes, she quickly turned sideways. However, it could be seen from her slightly red face that she was still relatively shy. Hee, it's not that you are too sexy. If you were anyone else, I wouldn't even look at you, Xiao Xian said with a smile. Who wants you to compliment me? Chen Meng was filled with regret. If he had known that this would be the case, he would not have come in even if he killed her. Concentrate on resisting the ways of nature. Otherwise, it would be a pity if your pretty little face hits the boulder at the bottom of the river and gets scratched. After Xiao Xian finished speaking, he recirculated the dragon blood in his body and began to concentrate on dealing with the natural way in the river. Seeing that Xiao Xian was no longer paying attention to her, Chen Meng's face softened slightly, and then he began to concentrate on dealing with the natural ways in the river. She can feel it. This powerful natural force in the river was indeed constantly washing her body's muscles and bones. Every time she was washed, it was subtly changing her physique. It's so wonderful, Chen Meng couldn't help but sigh. Let's come too. I'll try to. Seeing Chen Meng to go in. Naturally, Meng Xiaoli and Long Ruoxiu were not to be outdone and jumped into the river one after another. The three of them sat exactly the same on the big rocks in the river, enduring the impact of the river. This was a feast for Xiao Xian's eyes. Because they entered the river earlier than the three of them. At this moment, he had adapted to the river faster than the three women, and he still had time to open his eyes and look at them. Well, in terms of figure, senior sister Meng is better, and junior sister Long is not bad either. Sister Chen Meng's waist is the thinnest. Junior sister Long, the little witch, has the fairest skin. If she takes off more, she will definitely be very attractive. Xiao Xian murmured to himself in a low voice. But the next second, when he opened his eyes, he found that the three women in front of him were glaring at him. Obviously, his words were heard clearly. From their knife-like eyes. He can feel it. At this moment, it was probably the impact of the river that saved his life. Otherwise, they would have rushed over and killed Xiao Xian directly. Society is dead. Is this special thing a social death? Xiao Xian's face felt hot. He quickly closed his eyes and concentrated on dealing with the impact of the river, carefully experiencing the charm of the great road in the river. It takes less than one stick of incense. Long Ruoxiu, Chen Meng, and Meng Xiaoli were washed out by the river one after another. Only Xiao Xian was left alone among them. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 724. Ho ho ho. Seeing that Xiaoxian was still holding on in the river, the savage leader waved his arms to cheer for Xiaoxian. His eyes were full of enthusiasm and excitement. It's like finding some treasure. What are these savages doing? Do you regret it? Seeing the savages' actions, Long Ruoxiu was a little worried. It doesn't seem like it. This river is naturally formed. No matter how long Xiaoxian stays in it, it will not affect anything. They seem to be expecting something. Wang Tai shook his head. It seems that he hopes Xiaoxian will stay longer. It's hard. After all, he is just a high-level ringtone practitioner. Although I don't know what means he used, his physique is stronger than ordinary people, but this river is the power of nature and is endless. Even Xiaoxian can hardly resist it. Chen Meng analyzed. For her analysis, Wang Tai and others also knew that this was very reasonable, but they also hoped that Xiaoxian would persist for a longer time. For the sake of Xiaoxian, and also for the face of Wu Meng's lineage. How long do you think Xiaoxian can last? Long Ruoxiu looked at Xiaoxian, who was still holding on in the middle of the river, and asked the people around him. Have no idea. Looking at it like this, it will most likely take an hour. Meng Xiaoli also had a little surprise on her face. She had clearly felt the impact of the avenue she had just encountered in the river. She originally thought that she would not last as long as the savage leader. You should be able to hold on for a while longer. But now it seems that this is not the case. She has not been able to persist in the river for as long as Xiaoxian. This surprised her somewhat. But she was surprised. Now faced with these situations, she also understood that no matter whether it was a new student or an old student, in the Qinglian Valley, only strength was the most important. Although Xiaoxian is just a new student, but her strength is no less than hers, so at this moment, she still has to be more or less honest in order to achieve good results. An hour. This, under such pressure, if he can persist for an hour, it will definitely be of great benefit to his body. Wang Tai was also envious. I really don't know how junior brother Xiaoxian cultivated such a powerful body. Flesh. Wang Tai commented this way. He didn't care about the other people around him. For a moment, the faces of the three women next to him also turned slightly red. Although they had not deliberately observed it in the river just now, Xiaoxian's strong muscles were still unforgettable to them. Boom. While they were talking, a huge layer of waves suddenly appeared in the upper reaches of the river, carrying the power accumulated from the upper reaches, and hit Xiaoxian directly. You know, although these waves crashing down from the upstream are all water. But because of the huge impact, if it hits a person, it will be no less than a big stone. Not good. The power of this wave is not small. If it hits Xiaoxian, I'm afraid Xiaoxian will be in danger, right? Wang Tai stood up instantly. I'm going to rescue him. Wait a minute. I feel that this may be an opportunity for Xiaoxian. Long Ruoxiu and Xiaoxian are the most familiar. She knew that although Xiaoxian liked all kinds of challenges, he was definitely not a stupid person, and he would definitely not resist an insurmountable danger. Xiaoxian had obviously noticed this huge wave just now. But he didn't avoid it. This is enough to show that Xiaoxian has already thought of a countermeasure, or in other words, he wants to challenge it. Junior sister Long, are you saying that Xiaoxian wants to challenge this giant wave? That's what it looks like now. Long Ruoxiu frowned slightly and said, according to what I know about him, he never does anything he is not sure of. Since he can make such a decision, it is enough to show that he must have other backups. Is there any backup plan? This, if he really has a backup plan, that would be really shocking. Wang Tian took a breath of air. You know, now Xiaoxian hardly uses any means, he just has the physical body to withstand the impact of the river. The time is approaching an hour. He couldn't imagine how powerful Xiaoxian would be physically if he had other means. At this moment, he watched the huge wave slowly approach him. Can Xiaoxian bear it? How was the harvest? Wang Tai also asked when he saw the injuries on Xiaoxian's body washed out by the water. Xiaoxian smiled. Xiaoxian also showed an expression of eagerness to try. You must have the courage to face danger. It is said that after cultivating to the high level of the spiritual God realm, every time you progress, your body's muscles, bones, and blood will change. I just feel that the muscles and bones in my body seem to be a lot harder. After such a long period of impact on the river's forehead, he already felt a soreness in the muscles of his body. And now, the realm Xiaoxian has reached is the golden blood realm. After the bursts of water mist dissipated, gold blood, jade bones, refined flesh. All that was left was an almost perfect muscular body. He was still a little afraid in his heart, but in the next second, his face gained a little more courage to challenge. Long Ruoxiu was naturally relieved when she saw that Xiaoxian was safe, but when she saw his naked body the next second, she suddenly spat. Compared to them, Meng Xiaoli is more straightforward. Want to become stronger? I don't feel anything. Although Xiaoxian didn't say much, Wang Tai next to him was keenly aware of something different. Senior sister, don't let me beat you up. There is a saying that there is golden blood in high-level spiritual realm. Chen Meng's face was also slightly red and he quickly turned his head away. Boom. I didn't expect that you would have brewed golden blood. It's amazing. But I saw the huge waves more than 10 meters high. In the river, a figure stood tall, and his clothes had been washed away by the huge impact. Snow-white waves crashed against him. It's a little different. Hurry up and put your clothes on. Dirty. Rumble. Looking at the approaching giant wave, the colorful power on Xiaoxian's body was lingering at the same time. The next second, the giant wave came directly in front of him. Looking at the waves all over the sky, Wang Tai and others were frightened. They were all people who had experienced the impact of rivers, and knew that this river was different from ordinary rivers. It was blessed by the natural avenue and the impact was extremely powerful. He was instantly submerged. Xiaoxian originally wanted to put on a handsome pose, but in the next second, he honestly found a piece of clothing from the space magic weapon and put it on, and then jumped out of the river in a hurry. Each of these three realms will lead to a qualitative change and improvement in strength. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 725. Ah! Brother, how do you know? Xiaoxian was stunned. It is true that when he was promoted to the high level of the spiritual god realm, he already had golden blood in his body, but he did not show this. Why can Wang Tai know? Senior brother, my major is the physical body, so naturally I am very sensitive to the strength of the physical body. Wang Tai looked at Xiaoxian approvingly. You are not majoring in the physical body, but you can achieve such an achievement, it is really amazing. He, it's just average. Xiaoxian scratched his head in embarrassment. Your physique is not ordinary. Senior brother, I can clearly see that ordinary people definitely don't have this ability, Wang Tai said seriously. It's not too powerful. Xiaoxian was still modest. Kings. Just when Xiaoxian and Wang Tai were humble to each other, a group of people from the savage tribe came up one after another and knelt on the ground with pious faces. King. Superior. Xiaoxian was stunned. He really didn't expect that these savages could actually speak human language. You can speak human language. Xiaoxian couldn't help but turn around and look at the savage leader with eager eyes. Why didn't you speak human language earlier? Why haven't you hidden it until now? Kings. 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 But what gave him a headache was. Next, Xiaoxian felt a little helpless. He found that these savages could tell the truth, but they could only say this one sentence over and over again. Especially the savage leader looked at him eagerly. He has become his little fanboy. In this regard, Xiao Xian was really helpless. After all, he was also a serious straight man. If the leader of the savages was also a delicate beauty, maybe he will still be moved. But now, this guy is a short, stocky black man. Although it is said that this savage leader has the strength of the great perfection of the spiritual god realm, it is a great help to have him by his side. But let's talk about it. He really didn't feel any benefit from this guy's surrender. Awesome. Xiao Xian, it seems that your experience in the river just made this guy surrender. Looking at Xiao Xian, Long Ruoxiu was also slowly shocked. Now that we have such ability, the final thing will be easier. If the savage leader is willing to help, doesn't it mean that we can do whatever we want in the treasure land? Do whatever you want, Xiao Xian pursed his lips. Otherwise, isn't the purpose of your coming to Qinglian Valley for so long just to hunt for treasure? Long Ruoxiu said tit for tat. But even if you have the surrender of the savage leader, you may not be able to do whatever you want, right? Xiao Xian was still a little hesitant. Of course you don't need to say more about these things. Long Ruoxiu shook her head, with a sly expression on her lips. Leave the rest to me. You. This time it's not just Xiao Xian. Even the people next to him had doubts on their faces. To be honest, the savage leader didn't speak human language at all, and he didn't have a good impression of them. He was just defeated by Xiao Xian, so he surrendered to him so much. What can be done to deal with such a guy? Long Ruoxiu, be careful. This savage leader is a savage after all. Whatever you want to get, you must be careful and careful. Meng Xiaoli warned worriedly. Don't worry. As long as he has a little intelligence, he can understand what I mean, but Xiao Xian needs to cooperate with me. Long Ruoxiu smiled and said to Meng Xiaoli, Senior sister, what do you think we will do if he doesn't cooperate? Don't worry, he will definitely cooperate. Meng Xiaoli turned back and glanced at Xiao Xian. Isn't that right? Yes, yes. Xiao Xian nodded quickly. In fact, in this trial, although he is currently the strongest, perhaps with his strength, he could make the disciples of other lineages obedient, but in the Wu Meng lineage, he was still just a new student after all. Suggestions for Wang Tai and Meng Xiaoli. He still had to obey. That's pretty much it. Seeing Xiao Xian's agreement, Meng Xiaoli nodded with a smile and continued to say to Long Ruoxiu, if you need his cooperation, just say it directly. Good. Xiao Xian, I need you to pretend to be injured. Long Ruoxiu came close to Xiao Xian, muttered something, and looked at him with questioning eyes. Is this okay? Isn't this a lie? Xiao Xian was stunned. This time will be no exception. The savage leader didn't hesitate too much. He looked at the herbs in Long Ruoxiu's hand with a look of understanding. In fact, he was still a little hesitant in his heart. Spiritual grass. Maybe Long Ruoxiu's performance is useful. Kings. Wasn't their trip in vain? Xiao Xian could only look in pain and slowly fell to the ground, covering his stomach with his hands, looking like he was in great pain. More importantly, anyone with a discerning eye can now see that the savage leader has obeyed Xiao Xuanyan. Based on what you said, do you think there is any better way besides this? Just tell me whether you agree or not. Long Ruoxiu was a little impatient. Promise, of course I agree. Xiao Xian looked embarrassed. What Long Ruoxiu said to him just now was very simple, that is, let him pretend to be injured and let the savage leader take them to the place where the treasure is stored. After all, he was not injured, but now, for a little elixir, he was deliberately pretending to be injured. Based on previous experience, as long as the savage leader personally takes the lead, he should take them to some good places. Under Long Ruoxiu's expectant gaze, there were a few more spiritual herbs in his hand, and he stuffed them into Xiao Xian's mouth, and then looked at the savage leader with an earnest look. If it's as expected, it's good. Seeing this, Long Ruoxiu and others' eyes suddenly lit up. Food, treasure. Now don't ask the savages to bring out some treasures. Then, he led him directly towards the depths of the mountain forest. Then let's get started, Long Ruoxiu said with a smile. Long Ruoxiu also started to perform at this time. Long Ruoxiu also saw Xiao Xian's hesitation. Although Xiao Xian agreed. All right. As expected. They were all embarrassed about this issue, and even Xiao Xian was speechless. Is it somewhat inappropriate? All right. Thinking of this, he also looked embarrassed. What are you going to do? I'm afraid that even if the savage leader committed suicide on the spot, he wouldn't even blink an eye. After Xiao Xian made such a gesture, a group of savages immediately surrounded him, and the leader of the savages also looked worried. After all, they come to Qinglian Valley to get an opportunity, if there are not enough opportunities. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 726. Being carried by the savage leader. Xiao Xian himself felt a little embarrassed. After all, if you really want to talk about it, he was not injured at all, let alone needing to be carried by others. But fortunately this embarrassing scene didn't last long. Soon, the savage leader brought Xiao Xian and a group of people to a dark cave. Just standing in front of the cave, he could feel that there was a strong aroma of herbs wafting out of the cave. Interesting. So, it should contain the real wealth of the beast tribe. This is a good thing. Xiao Xian was a little moved. However, before he could say anything more, the savage leader rushed him into the cave on his back. But what made Long Ruoxiu's face a little embarrassed was that except for Xiao Xian, everyone else was blocked outside. This is... Ho ho ho. Xiao Xian originally wanted to ask. However, after seeing the determined expression on the savage leader's face, he did not dare to say anything more and could only stay outside. This means... Let me go in alone and eat something good. Xiao Xian was a little surprised. Naturally, it is best to enjoy it alone. Although he believed that if he wanted something in the cave, he could still have it all to himself. Thank you very much. After Xiao Xian walked in, he was surprised. This cave was indeed a huge treasure house of medicinal materials. Although various medicinal materials are placed in a messy manner. But what can be seen is that the things that can be placed inside are relatively precious things. It's so cool. Long Ruoxiu is really a genius. He can come up with such a clever way and get so many good things without doing anything. Xiao Xian jumped off the back of the savage leader. Look around. The rich aroma of medicinal herbs made him feel relaxed and happy. Are these all mine? Xiao Xian asked tentatively. Ho ho ho. The savage leader cannot speak. However, he took the initiative to pick up a large handful of medicinal materials and brought them to Xiao Xian with respect in his eyes. Needless to say, Xiao Xian also understood what he meant. In that case, I won't be polite. Xiao Xian was very moved. He had not forgotten that one of the purposes of coming to Qinglian Valley this time was to find the broken bones of Tianlong. Heavenly flame grass, cardamom ganoderma, bone flower, Kinglan royal grass. Xiao Xian searched in the huge cave. He saw that various medicinal materials were of high quality, at least second grade or above, and third grade medicinal materials were not uncommon. It can be said that this place is a treasure house of medicinal materials. But what puzzled him was that although these things were placed here, the savage leader was not moved by them at all. Just like these are ordinary grasses. This really made Xiao Xian a little confused. Obviously, these medicinal materials were collected by the savage tribe, and in order to protect them, the savage leader even refused to let Long Ruoxiu and others in. But why does it look like the savage leader doesn't care about these things at all? According to Xiao Xian's judgment, the savage leader can't act, and there are some things that he basically won't pretend to do on purpose. But now, something is obviously wrong with this savage's appearance. But they can't understand human speech, which is really troublesome. Xiao Xian couldn't help but mutter to himself. The host can try to communicate with the soul, the system prompted. Soul communication. What do you mean? Xiao Xian was stunned. It hasn't been long since he came to Daedao continent, but this is the first time he has heard such a method of communication. Soul. When will spirits be able to communicate? Has the host forgotten that you are the spirit of creation? Your soul is naturally different from the soul of ordinary people, the system prompted. Yes. But even so, so what? Can the spirit of creation be so bullish? Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask, if this is the case, doesn't it mean that I can communicate with all things? For his question, the system seemed to have expected it and asked, if my impression is good, it seems that in addition to communicating with savages, the host can also communicate with mythical beasts, right? Say it. Xiao Xian suddenly felt a sense of enlightenment. Yes. He is human. Little Green is a mythical beast. But can't they still communicate without any barriers? So, I am really a universal translator? As long as I am a species and have intelligence, I can communicate. Xiao Xian came to a conclusion. That's it? Why didn't you tell me earlier? You didn't ask earlier. Xiao Xian was also helpless. He knows that with his ability, if he wants to argue with the system, no matter who loses or wins in the end, he will be the one who suffers. So, how should I use this function? Xiao Xian turned around and looked at the honest savage leader, but he felt like he had no idea where to start. The host can refer to the method of communicating with Xiaolu. Okay. There is a direction. Xiao Xian was not as embarrassed as before. After thinking about it, he began to activate his soul power, but his soul power was different from that of ordinary people. His soul is blessed by primitive power. My name is Xiao Xian, what's your name? Xiao Xian looked at the savage leader. Are you the king? The savage leader said something unclear in his mouth, but his eyes could not hide the excitement. Yes, it's me. Xiao Xian nodded. My name is Enda. The savage leader looked excited. Are you the one sent by God to save our savage tribe? Rescue? Xiao Xian couldn't help but wonder, aren't you alive and well? Is there anything you need to save? 3 days left. The dark sect will come and they will kill us all. Adaka's face was filled with fear. Hearing these words, Xiao Xian couldn't help being surprised, and for a moment he couldn't believe what Enda said. You know, Enda is also considered to have the perfect strength of the spiritual god realm. Although other savages do not have Tao power to practice, they still have the strength of the primary level of the spiritual god realm with their physical bodies. Moreover, with the savage tribe's fearless fighting ability, there should be no one so capable. Directly destroy the entire savage tribe. Is this dark section the sect that originally existed in your Qinglian Valley? Or is it a foreign sect? Xiao Xian suddenly had a hunch that this dark sect couldn't be the Xianming sect, right? Foreign section. These foreign sects come once every 3 years and slaughter our savage tribe every time. Anda gritted his teeth. My parents were killed by them. Do they have any characteristics? Why don't you hide? Xiao Xian asked. Why do they want to kill you? Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 727. Have no idea. The people of the dark sect are cruel by nature. They want to kill someone without asking for a reason. Anda's eyes were a little lonely, but then he became excited. Originally, We were definitely not the opponents of the dark sect, but, this time, with you, the king, we have the confidence to fight against them. Hear this. Xiao Xian also roughly understood. No wonder these savage tribes valued him so much. It turned out to be because he was the king and he could help them resist the dark sect. However, through Anda's words, Xiao Xian also got some information that this so-called dark sect should come from the outside world. They are not the original people of Qinglian Valley. In this case, it is very likely that he is the trial disciple who came to Qinglian Valley this time. The people of the Xianming sect have always liked the color black, mostly because they wear black clothes, so they are considered by the savage tribe to be a dark sect. Okay. I see. Xiao Xian nodded. Before this trial, he originally regarded Xianming sect as his opponent. If he didn't meet them, that would be fine, but if he did meet them, he wouldn't mind letting these Xianming sect disciples disappear. After all, collude with Wang Rolong. He wants to destroy the entire Qinghua Academy children. Just relying on this, he had a reason to let Xianming sect disappear. Kings. These herbs are all things that can increase your strength, and they are all prepared for you. Anda looked pious. Well, that's really good, but, I'm a little curious, since you know that this thing can enhance your power, why don't you use it? Xiao Xian asked, don't you want to control the power in your own hands? What? These are the king's things. We can only use it if the king lets us use it. Anda said seriously, because only the king can save our tribe. Who told you that I am the king just because I persisted in the river for an hour? Xiao Xian had a headache. Only a true king can persist in the river of sighs for an hour. Anda is proud of himself. All right. In this case, the affairs of the dark sect will be left to me. Xiao Xian could tell. Now that he has become the king of this savage tribe, he must carry this matter through to the end no matter what. Otherwise, I'm afraid these savages will really disappear. But even so, he was still a little curious. Even if the Xianming sect is cruel by nature, why do they have to kill so many savages? Could it be that killing the savages would do them any good? Xiao Xian thought about it and asked, Anda, in that case, I have another question. Where is the greatest opportunity in the Qinglian Valley? The land of Dragon Leap. There are many wonderful places in the Qinglian Valley, but if we talk about the most mysterious and powerful place, it can only be the land of Dragon Leap. A look of yearning appeared on Anda's face. It is said that only those who can pass the land of Dragon Leap can become the true pride of heaven. Xiao Xian couldn't help but be a little surprised. He was not surprised that Anda, as a native of the Qinglian Valley, knew a place like Longjao land. He was surprised. Anda is a native of Qinglian Valley. He could actually say the 4 words heaven's proud son from his mouth. This doesn't seem like a vocabulary that Anda can know. Could it be that someone else told him about this? Who said all this? Your Majesty. Where is the old king now? Killed by the dark section. Xiao Xian was helpless for a while. Originally, he was counting on getting some information from the savage leader, but now it seems that he can't get any information at all. However, this result was not what he expected. If there really was a strong man in the savage tribe, Anda wouldn't need to find a half-hearted king like him. Let everyone outside come in. Everyone can get the medicinal materials here. I hope that after 3 days, everyone's strength will be enhanced. Xiao Xian said to Anda. But, these are used to enhance the king's power, how can others use them? Anda was a little surprised. The more the merrier. But now, these treasures have been ruined by savages. You're welcome. These barbarian tribes have enmity with the Xianming section. It seems that every time the Xianming sect enters the Qinglian Valley, they will massacre a barbarian tribe. Xiao Xian repeated what Anda said just now. Xiao Xian explained, besides, your savage tribe has collected so many medicinal materials, so you should know that these things are good for you. But intuitively, he felt that his guess should be correct. I don't know that. Xiao Xian doesn't mind being a favor. You let these savages eat herbs. On the contrary, Wang Tai and others at the door were a little confused. They watched the savages rush into the cave and began to eat and stuff their mouths with their mouths wide. Long Ruoxiu's face was filled with pain. Although the savage tribe is savage, they are not fools. The first time she came to the cave, she almost regarded the cave as the property of King Hua College. Since we are all working together, it is naturally the best thing for everyone to become stronger. What's happening here? After all, these savage tribesmen were also very helpful to him at the back. These herbs were originally found by the savage tribes themselves, and it is only natural that they should be used on them now. Why? Long Ruoxiu was stunned. However, I can roughly guess that Xianming sect probably wants to get something from the savage tribe. Why? Long Ruoxiu incarnated into 100,000 wise. Xiao Xian shook his head. You have forgotten, what is the name of the leading elder of Xianming section? Old man swimming. Doesn't his technique rely on blood? Perhaps, he just needs the blood of savages to practice. Thank you, Your Majesty. Anda looked excited. I think we may really have to confront the Xianming sect this time, Xiao Xian said. But now it seems. Xiao Xian. Anda roared, and the savages filed in. Since these herbs are currently of little use to Xiao Xian, it was like seeing something new. In Anda's heart, these things should have been given to him. Everyone, come in. Xiao Xian didn't know the specific situation. He could also roughly guess it. Yes. Xiao Xian himself felt a little embarrassed. How could this not make her feel distressed? Since these things can be placed here, they should be very useful. At least, they must be beneficial to the savage tribe. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 728. What you said makes sense. The reason why Xianming sect is not tolerated by all the righteous sects is that the techniques they practice are too bloody and cruel, and they often use the lives of many righteous practitioners as bait. After hearing this, Wang Tai also nodded secretly. Speaking of which, if the savage leader did not lie, then this dark sect should be the Xianming section. Obtained Wang Tai's approval. Xiao Xian also agreed with it and continued, so, do we want to help this savage tribe deal with Xianming sect? He asked this question. For a moment, Wang Tai and others were somewhat hesitant. It is true that their King Hua Academy had many disputes with the Xianming sect, and they also received a lot of help from the savage tribe. Based on emotion and reason, they should all help the savage tribe target the Xianming sect. However, if you really want to talk about it, Xianming sect is, after all, a very powerful party in the Mingzhou territory. Strength cannot be underestimated. With the current strength of King Hua Academy, even if the savage tribe is added, it may not be the opponent of Xianming sect. Senior brother. You hesitated. Is there anything else you have to worry about? Regarding Wang Tai's hesitation, Xiao Xian asked instead, if I remember correctly, our King Hua Academy and the Xianming sect were old enemies. Even Chen Rulong and Mu Xiaolong betrayed their sect for some profit. This time this hatred, can you let it go? Hear these words. Instead, Wang Tai's face flashed with hesitation. Do you think, senior brother, I have no hatred for Xianming sect? Wang Tai smiled bitterly and shook his head. Senior brother, I am afraid that I have more hatred for Xianming section. Oh. 3 years ago, our Wu Meng lineage was not the weakest in King Hua College. On the contrary, our lineage was the mainstay of King Hua College. Wang Tai recalled the past with a nostalgic expression on his face, but during the trip to the Qinglian Valley 3 years ago, the disciples of our lineage were attacked by the Xianming sect in order to cover the evacuation of other lines. They suffered heavy losses. From then on, in the academy his status plummeted. This time, Xiao Xian was stunned. Ever since he entered Qinghua College, he accidentally ended up in the Wu Meng lineage. He had always thought that their lineage was the weakest, and it should have always been that way. You can hear what Wang Tai means. Their Wu and Meng lineage turned out to be very powerful. It was only because of Xianming sect's participation that it finally led to its downfall, which aroused his curiosity and doubts. You know, since entering the Wu Meng lineage of Qinghua College, the things he encountered were basically all kinds of troubles. The pessimism of his fellow disciples, the difficulty of the elders, the disdain of the deans, and even his own branch Dean Wu Meng was in a state of idle clouds and wild cranes. In the branch hospital, they were treated differently and ignored. Originally, Xiao Xian thought that this should be the reason for Elder Wu Meng's own mentality. Who knew that he would have such an experience? That said, the reason why Wu Meng was unwilling to compete for the first position among the students for his own lineage was to protect his disciples? Interesting. I really didn't expect that our lineage would have so much history and entanglements. Xiao Xian nodded. However, now that I have become the king of the savage tribe, I can be said to be riding a tiger. From the looks of it, the fight with the Xianming sect should not end easily. All right. Since you have already decided, senior brother will naturally support you. Wang Tai originally wanted to say something more. But after seeing Xiao Xian's firm eyes, he still nodded helplessly. But in this way, you must have a lot of difficulties along the way, and there will even be various dangers. Have you thought about it? It doesn't matter. I have experienced too many difficulties in my life as a practitioner. It doesn't matter if I have more. Hear this. Xiao Xian smiled instead. He didn't just say it casually. On the contrary, the experience of practicing on 2 continents had long ago cultivated his perseverance. At this moment, not to mention that the Qinglian Valley is full of young disciples of the Xianming sect. Even if it was the saint son of Xianming sect, Xiao Xian still looked down upon it. After all, it was not like he had never seen those high-ranking saints and saints. Good. However, his optimism was obviously not recognized. Wang Tai said. Since you have such a mentality, it means that you are ready. In this case, senior brother, I am also willing to accompany you to rush for once. But in the end, weren't they all trampled under his feet one by one? How do you say this? Xiao Xian was stunned. Long Ruoxiu on the side looked at Xiao Xian with a bit of curiosity on her face and said, let me say, Xiao Xian, are you thinking a little too simplistic? Do you really think that people from Xianming sect are all fool? Then the next thing will be simple. As long as we use our plan to attract people from the Xianming sect to come forward, and we have a mantis stalking the cicada and the oriole behind us, won't the matter be solved? The well-deserved number 1 among the younger generation in Mingzhou territory. Hearing these simple words, Xiao Xian felt warm in his heart. Wu Sheng. Talent. Good. In that case. Xiao Xian couldn't help but said, besides, in this Mingzhou realm, isn't his strength at most the peak of the spiritual god realm? Could it be that he is another Dzogchen figure? After he said this, is it always possible to achieve the great perfection of the spiritual god realm? Doesn't it mean that the cultivators in Mingzhou territory are average in strength? Even if he is one of them, what will happen in the end? Is it possible that he can really defy the odds? There are so many talented young people. Xiao Xian couldn't help but feel a little toothache. As expected, Long Ruoxiu, Meng Xiaoli also looked at him with smiles, and they obviously agreed with Wang Tai's words. Why did he arrange such a powerful opponent for him just when he had the slightest desire to challenge? Look back. Do you know that Wu Sheng, the holy son of the Xianming sect, Long Ruoxiu, he is one of the most talented young people in the Mingzhou domain. He can be said to be the strongest disciple in the Qinglian Valley this time when Ming Zhao realm entered. I'm sorry. Xiao Xian is very optimistic. Long Ruoxiu said, speaking of which, compared to him, Bai Feng's strength is far behind. When did so many geniuses emerge? This made Xiao Xian feel a little uneasy. What do you mean? Is it possible that this guy really has reached the great perfection of the spiritual god realm? The people next to him looked at him hesitantly and said nothing. What's going on? He knew that what Wang Tai said was what he thought in his heart. From a certain perspective, it also represented the thoughts of others in Wu Meng's lineage. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 729. What? Are you scared? This is not like your style. Aren't you the kind of person who is not afraid of anything? Long Ruoxiu said with a smile. How come a person who has perfected the spiritual god realm can scare you like this? To say you're scared is a bit much. However, since there is a person who has reached the great perfection of the spiritual god realm, our actions must be somewhat restricted. Xiao Xian shook his head and said, but I remember that our Qinghua Academy also has inner disciples. Even if Bai Feng is not as good as Wu Sheng, there should be someone better than him, right? He asked this question. Long Ruoxiu shook her head instead and said, in terms of background, our Qinghua Academy and Xianming sect are actually on par with each other. If we talk about our inner disciples and the Holy Son of Xianming sect, I'm afraid they are about the same strength. Then what is Wu Sheng's ranking among the saints of the Xianming sect? Not as good as the top 5. What the hell, what are these holy sons and inner disciples doing? Why don't they even take the initiative to come to such an important experience in the Qinglian Valley? Do they look down on it? Actually, it is. Regarding Xiao Xian's anxiety, Wang Tai smiled bitterly. Actually, the Qinglian Valley may still have some attractions in the eyes of ordinary disciples like us, but for those inner sects who have touched the threshold of the blue god realm, as a disciple, it's a bit tasteless. It seemed that he was afraid that Xiao Xian would not understand. Meng Xiaoli continued, among the 8 inner disciples of our Qinghua Academy, the first few are basically ready to break through to the Kang god realm at any time, especially the chief disciple Hu Dao. He was promoted to the Kang god realm 3 years ago with his sword skills. The situation is over. Hu Dao, Xiao Xian remembered the name. Yes, it's Hu Dao, but for various reasons, Hu Dao is not willing to be directly promoted. Instead, he wants to accumulate more Tao Fate. Meng Xiaoli said, after all, in the spiritual realm, I can comprehend more Tao Fate, and can also have a better foundation in the blue god realm. Then what are they preparing for? Xiao Xian was really curious. Baptism of heavenly flame. This is what their elite disciples value most. Wang Tai glanced at Xiao Xian and realized that Xiao Xian's current strength was hardly any weaker than that of the inner disciples. It doesn't seem to be useful to think about that now. Looking at these herbs, have you found anything strange? Chen Meng saw everyone talking around Xiao Xian and said, in the previous battles with the savages, they relied on strength, but these herbs are not just for strength enhancement, so don't you feel strange? She said this. It aroused doubts among the people nearby, and they all focused on these herbs. That's true. The types and quality of these medicinal herbs are good. Logically speaking, someone should guide the savages, otherwise they wouldn't know these things. Long Ruoxiu took a few glances and agreed. For what they said. Xiao Xian didn't care that much, and just continued, this is not such a big deal, right? If you are curious, I will just ask. Walked up to Anda. He picked up a medicinal herb at random and asked, Anda, these medicinal herbs are of good quality. How did you find them? Or, how do you know these things are good for you? Has anyone taught you to identify medicinal herbs? Ho ho, it was taught by people from the dark section, Anda explained. Dark sect again, Xiao Xian frowned slightly. Yes, they said that if we find enough herbs in the Qinglian Valley, we can use them to save our lives. Anda gritted his teeth. I saw Xiao Xian talking to Anda just now. But Long Ruoxiu seemed to have heard something funny and couldn't help laughing. Then are you going to stay in this savage tribe and not go back? Do you understand? Having said this, Xiao Xian himself felt a little embarrassed. Although the way of nature is powerful, it is not easy to fully understand it. Although he has been on the Dao continent for a long time. Anda said, if the king goes, he will definitely get the greatest opportunity. It is said that there is a trace of real nature in it. Well, maybe it's because I am their king, so I can understand what they say. Xiao Xian could only use this untenable reason to explain. That's not the case. But there is still too little understanding of this world. To be honest, there are some forces that want to be strengthened and may need more help. Xiao Xian was indifferent. After all, if Long Ruoxiu knew that there was a divine beast with ancient bloodline hidden in him, he would probably be even more surprised. Looking at you, it seems that you can talk to the leader of the savage tribe. Where do you get the means? Have you really become their king? That's a good thing. This is just a trace of the natural way. Kings. Of course, only the true king can pass this test. Long Ruoxiu looked surprised. After hearing this, Xiao Xian gave her an extremely big eye roll in an instant. If this is really the case, I will let you stay as Mrs. Yazai. Pass the trial of Dragon Leap Land. Just now, after he felt the natural way in the river of size, it had an excellent effect on strengthening his physique. A touch of true nature? Long Ruoxiu said with a smile. Also, if you can understand this now, you must know that when I become Mrs. Yazai, I will not listen to you honestly. Okay, okay. If you can see the true way of nature, and even make this thing your own, I'm afraid your strength will not be improved just a little. There are also medicinal herbs in the Dragon Leap Land. Almost no one dares to go there. It is also the area with the richest resources in the Green Lotus Valley. So, you have found almost all the herbs in Qinglian Valley. Xiao Xian was a little surprised. Xiao Xian was a little surprised. Think of this. Chen Meng frowned slightly. Now, shouldn't you think about how to deal with Xianming sect? Xiao Xian felt a little more moved in his heart. So, you just don't know how to get this natural way. It was like seeing a ghost. I've heard a long time ago that as a village lady in this savage tribe, you have endless amounts of elixirs to take every day. Can you two be more serious? Why do you want to suppress MRSI but not MRSI? You must give it to me when the time comes. Anda smiled and said, we have absolute confidence in the king. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 730. I think. Although this holy son of Xianming sect is very powerful, he is not invincible, right? I saw that no one was talking. Xiao Xian smiled instead. No matter how awesome this holy son is, can he still be a master in the blue god realm? That's not true. Chen Meng shook his head. If he is in the blue god realm, he will not be able to enter the Qinglian Valley. Then it's over. As long as I don't reach the blue god realm, I think I'm still capable of fighting. Xiao Xian is full of confidence. However, after he said these words, Wang Tai Mengxiali and others next to him had serious expressions. You know, the strength Xiao Xian showed before was not weak. It can be said that he is already stronger than Bai Feng and the savage leader Enda. But even so, so what? Wu Sheng is known as the holy son of the Xianming sect, and his strength has reached the great perfection of the spiritual god realm. although it is similar to Enda in terms of realm. But Wu Shengsheng can use Taoism, and he also has the bonus of Xianming Qi. It can be said that in terms of strength, except for the top figures of several major forces, no one is his opponent. Although the strength shown by Xiao Xian is strong. But compared with such a person, it seems to be a little bit behind, which is also what they are worried about. Xiao Xian, the road must be walked step by step. Everyone can see your progress, but sometimes you still have to back down. Wang Tai still stood up. This Wu Sheng is not weak. There is no need for you to compete with him now. Yes. Xiao Xian, your senior brother is right. Remember to be eager for success along the way. Meng Xiaoli also advised, it is important for you to have a heart that is not afraid of Wu Sheng, but sometimes in addition to having this tough heart, you also need time to settle. Senior sister believes that if you have enough training time, we will definitely defeat Wu Sheng in the end. While everyone was talking about it, they still focused on Xiao Xian. Unknowingly, Xiao Xian, a new student, has become the backbone of a group of trial disciples at Qinghua Academy. For these persuasion, Xiao Xian naturally knew very well that these people were all for his own good. I don't want him to go against these people when he is still young, otherwise he will probably suffer in the end. However, shrinking back has never been his character. In this trial in the Qinglian Valley, his goal is not just to get a share of the pie, but more importantly, to have the greatest chance of obtaining the land of Dragon Leap. Xiao Xian is willing to believe it. After obtaining this natural way, no one who has 6 victories in martial arts can be his opponent. Have you thought about it? Do you really want to go against this Wu Sheng? Do you know what the consequences will be if you fail? Wang Tai saw Xiao Xian's reaction and roughly understood that Xiao Xian was probably not willing to be so easy. Give up. In a place like Qinglian Valley, there are some things that we just can't choose. Xiao Xian shook his head. Now, the barbarian tribe has taken out their own treasure house of medicinal materials, can we not express something? But, besides, does senior brother Wang really naively think that if we don't provoke Xianming sect will let us go? Xiao Xian hit the nail on the head. Hearing this, not only Wang Tai, but also everyone else's faces became a little solemn. This is not the first time for them to participate in the trial, so they are naturally aware of the dangers that may exist in the secret realm. It can be said that it is in a secret realm. Basically, everyone except yourself is an enemy, or at worst a competitor. Although, in the face of danger, betrayal like Wang Rolong and Mu Xiaolong is not advisable, you must also be wary of those around you. It is obvious that Qinghua Academy and Xianming sect are now enemies rather than friends. Even if they don't target Xianming sect, with Xianming sect's behavior style, they won't let them go so easily. Have to say, although you are a new student, you can see things much more clearly than us. Hear this. From this perspective, it is naturally very normal for Xiao Xian to want to hide something. Wang Tai shook his head and said, really speaking, your words have indeed convinced me. Chen Meng analyzed rationally, although Xianming sect is powerful, our Qinghua Academy, Golden Blade sect, Shillong sect, and Snow Wolf sect are not weak opponents. They cannot know anything about Qinglian Valley. Xiao Xian also saw it. Although she refuses to admit defeat, she is still willing to cooperate in some things. I will definitely go to Lanjiao land. If you don't agree to deal with Xianming sect, then you won't go to this place. Xiao Xian smiled, and then told what Enda had just said about the land of Dragon Leap, and suggested that they go to the land of Dragon Leap together. For such an important place as Lanjiao land, I think the major sects should know some news. The words are rough and the reasoning is not rough. Meng Xiaoli interrupted, now, Bai Feng has died inexplicably. If we hadn't found Enda, this matter might have really missed our Qinghua College. Just like now. What, you guys, Do you also agree to take action against Xianming sect? Wang Tai was stunned. Being honest, he really didn't expect that Xiao Xian's words could have such a big effect. For the sake of what he said, the people next to him naturally looked a little embarrassed. Okay, since everyone agrees, I also have one thing to say. This Chen Meng is also a sharp-tongued person. They are really not ready to start directly with Xianming sect. But, indeed, compared to Xiao Xian, it's not you, senior brother, but us, Meng Xiaoli added. Everyone immediately looked at Xiao Xian with strange eyes. Do I know that senior sister Chen Meng is also the most talented disciple in the lineage of Master Lu Lianyi? It is impossible for her to say nothing this time, right? At this point. That's right, us Long Ruoxiu said the same. But we don't know any news. Wang Tai was stunned. Dean Kanglong will only tell a few people about such important news. Maybe only Bai Feng in Qinghua College knows about it? Good. Chen Meng seemed a little helpless and said directly, it seems that joining your team is not a good choice. Xiao Xian said seriously, in this case, what's the use of me saying this? Xiao Xian, you are so cunning. Depending on what you mean, are you saying that if we don't agree to deal with Xianming sect, you won't tell this matter? Fool. Haha. If I don't take a stand, wouldn't I be a bit unsociable? Long Ruoxiu suddenly realized. Understood.